Welcome to the Super Fantastic Exchange, where we have inspired conversations with inspiring leaders. And today I get a chance to share with you, and as I was sharing earlier before we started the show, there are leaders out there in the world that are lights, and they are consistent, they support other people, and they share and they give of their time and their wisdom. And Kara Rice has been one of those leaders that I have seen from a distance. And I'm just so excited that I have a chance to connect with her and ask her some questions. So without further ado, let's give it up for Kara Rice.
Thank you so much, Gary. It is a joy to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, thank you so much. And again, I'm just super excited to have a chance, to connect with you. And so this is going to be a great avenue just to talk and learn a little bit more about you. But before we get started, Kara, I want to give you a chance to share a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Thank you for that. So let's see. I am a multifamily lifer, and I've been in the business for more than 30 years. And I am in South Florida, although I grew up in the Boston area. So I'm a transplant here to South Florida, but that's kind of how most of us are here in South Florida. We don't originate here, we just wind up here. So I'm in South Florida, which is where I started my career in multifamily. Started as a leasing consultant at the community where I lived, and it was a total stumble into the business. I think many people have similar stories. And I was just really caught off guard that this turns out this could be something that, people do for life. I just found my way working in an apartment community, and that led me to this long and very satisfying career. Right now, I am the VP of Education for Swift Bunny. So I'm on the supplier side of the business. And over here, we're focused on employee engagement. So I get to work with a lot of different owners and management companies, and we're focused on driving down employee turnover. And my heart is in learning and development. So I love to train, I love to workshop with clients and try to make sure that they're getting the best out of their people. So aside from the work stuff, I'm also a wife and a mom. My husband and I have 3 kids. They are ages 15 to 22. And my oldest 2 are both at Florida State. Go Noles. So a new experience for me, Gary, is I am now experiencing student housing from arm's length. I've got 2 students in apartments, and that's been eye-opening and fun to experience. So yeah, I'm a leaseholder too for the first time in quite a few years.
That's awesome. Karen, I love your story because you started as a lease consultant, so you have that experience, and then currently you're at Swift Bunny, which is an amazing company to help companies, as you said, reduce turnover costs. What an incredible mission statement, if you will, for a company. And congrats on being being a wife, having kids. They're in college, and now you're experiencing student housing, something I started out with as well. So I feel your all the fun that goes along with student housing. So you've got quite the breadth of experience now. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, I've only actually worked in conventional, but it's been very interesting to experience student housing from this perspective. So it's all good stuff. It all
I love
goes into, informing what we do.
There you go. It's like, being training development, you're always learning, you're always
Yeah.
taking the experiences and creating learning opportunities. So I love what you're doing there. So, Kara, I love to connect with inspiring leaders, and you indeed are one of those inspiring leaders. And I love to peek behind the curtain to find out what inspires an inspiring leader. And so you and I went back and forth, kind of talked through what is it, inspiring, what's your perspective, what does that mean? You came back with 3 super points, and I can't wait to dig into these with you. The first one is something very unique, and I have never heard of this first point before. I've heard of kind of a variation of it, but here you are breaking ground, sharing preventative management as an inspiration point. That's such a truly unique term, and I'd love for you to kind of unpack that. What does that mean to you, and how does that inspire you?
Very, very cool. Thank you so much for that lead in. And yeah, preventative management. I don't know if I've coined the phrase. Maybe I should look into a
I'm giving it
trademark
to
or a
you.
copyright or something. Yeah, thanks, Gary. But yeah, it's something that I have been thinking about for the last couple of years. You know, I work with a lot of clients, as we've talked about here, really focused on how to get the best performance out of their people and ultimately how to keep their teams in place, you know, and drive down employee turnover. So a lot of my work is focused on what makes the workplace work well for people and what gets in the way of their satisfaction. And I'm in the fortunate position here with my role at Swift Bunny to be able to take a look at a lot of data from employee feedback surveys. So that's really valuable for me because it helps me make an informed opinion about what works and what doesn't work in our workplaces. So anyway, over time, kind of digging into all of that feedback and in conversation with property management leaders, I've landed on this premise here about preventative management. And what that means to me is that I see a lot of opportunity for leaders to take preventative steps that can help ensure that bad things don't happen in their workplace, meaning that employees don't become disgruntled to the point of wanting to leave. And I suspect when you first read this, when I told you what my points were going to be here for our conversation, I'm guessing you probably thought that I meant preventative maintenance, or maybe you read it as preventative maintenance, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a term that we're all very familiar with here in the apartment industry. And, you know, everybody knows what that means. We take certain steps to ensure that problems don't happen. You know, like we troubleshoot, you know, we go through and change AC filters, for example, to make sure that the AC system works well when it becomes time for all of the residents to turn their air on. And we do stuff like that in our personal life too. You know, you change the oil in your car so that the engine doesn't seize. But in terms of managing people, I think that there's a lot that we can do to prevent dissatisfaction. One example that I wanted to share with you today, Gary, is I have a friend who recently left her position, and she was in multifamily. She had a really great position with a highly respected company, and she'd been there for a good long time. So from the outside looking in, you might think that she had it all. So I was very surprised when I learned that she was moving on. And digging into that a little bit more closely with her, I learned that it turns out she was really dissatisfied at work. And the heart of the matter there was that she felt really invisible. Supervisors were not paying any attention to her. So she had concerns that she never had the opportunity to actually air to anybody in a position of power because nobody was asking her how she felt about anything. So there's an opportunity, right? Had a supervisor taken some time to have not just one conversation, but ongoing conversations with this individual, I think they would have learned a lot of things that they ultimately could have used and taken some action to prevent this bad thing from happening. And that bad thing being this individual getting so unhappy that they ultimately left. So that's what I mean by preventative management. There's so much that leaders can do if they just kind of get plugged in and take those proactive steps.
Oh my gosh. And Kara, it is such a unique, well, it's not a unique understanding, but I like the way you've kind of packaged it. And so there are definitely tools that you can use, and understanding if you don't do these things, then here's your ultimate result. So like you said, take proactive measures to communicate and connect with. And there's so many things that you can do. And I truly love the way that you've packaged this into preventative maintenance, because it's just like, you're right. When I initially read it, it was preventative maintenance because that's what I'm so used to seeing. But here you come along saying, okay, we do this preventative maintenance to take care of our assets, the buildings. But what more could we do if we did preventative management where we take care of our human capital? And I think, Carrie, you're onto something here that is would be extremely beneficial to all the companies, multifamily industry, and beyond that. And so I'm hoping You heard it here first. I'm hoping after this conversation, you may find some unique opportunities, unique things from Kara with preventative management. I'm just speaking that out loud with you because I think you really have something that's absolutely spectacular. So I'm hoping to see more of it from you, Kara. The second thing you shared, where I see where you're coming from, it's called compassion. You talked about compassion inspires you. So why why does this is business? So why would compassion inspire you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is business, but this is a people business. And I think that most of us, what appealed to us when we first began in property management was that people aspect of it. I know for me, I really feel my batteries get charged up when I get to spend time with people, especially in person, but even virtually, like this conversation that we're having, it really charges my batteries. So I remember when I first started as a leasing consultant, taking people out on tours was a joy for me. And I worked at a very busy community. It was about 600 units. So I was nonstop taking tours all day. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it because everyone's stories were so fascinating to me. So quick story, at that time, I was roommates with my sister. And we would compare notes about our days every night over dinner. And one evening I'm saying to her, "Oh, I met the nicest people today." And she says to me, "You know what? You say that every single day. You can't possibly meet the nicest person every single day." So my sister is not exactly a people person like I am. So she was a little more cynical about it. But it's true. That's really what just inspired me. I think made me want to stick around in this business is the people, not just the customers, but also our coworkers. And I think most people in property management probably feel that way. Now, that being said, people are a lot. People are a lot, and that can also be what can be so draining about our work is the people. And really, on a serious note here, I think people are a lot, and they're even more so right now. People are challenging, and I'm hearing that a lot from conversations that I have with clients and friends in the business, that residents in particular are difficult right now. They're very prickly. And so interacting with people is a challenge, and it's a daily challenge. It's, a constant challenge for folks in our industry. So anyway, this leads me to my focus on compassion. I think that that's really what gets us through and can help everybody who's daily lives are involving other people. If your work relies on other people, whether it's customers or colleagues, I think compassion can really be an absolute game changer. And perhaps you have heard the phrase, which is to assume good intent.
Ooh.
Assume good intent in all your interactions with people. When they show up at their prickliest, when they're being ugly, when they are being unreasonable, I think that it can be really common and easy for us to assume that person is a jerk. That person is behaving that way because they are, fill in the blank, whatever.
Yeah.
They think they are superior to me. So I push back on that reaction, Gary, and I think that we're going to be better served by choosing compassion and assuming instead that that person has good intentions. They may have bad behavior, but they have good intentions. And so choosing to face the world like this has been an absolute game changer for me. And this is true not just in work interactions, but it's true in like everyday common personal interactions. So here's a really simple example. Think about, your commute to work, and people are ugly on the road, right? They're just not kind. And so you may encounter some bad behavior from a fellow commuter who's driving, just provocatively beside you, right? Maybe cutting you off.
Uh-huh.
And instead of allowing your blood pressure to go sky high and telling yourself, what a jerk, there's such a jerk. I think to myself instead, let me fill out that story in a different way. Let me utilize some compassion here and think, what are they in such a hurry for? Maybe they're late for a super important meeting with their boss. Maybe they're visiting somebody in the hospital, or maybe it's a beginning driver, like my 15-year-old son who is just got his learner's permit. And he's not very good at it yet. So maybe that's somebody else's kid, right? Who needs a little bit of compassion from the other driver. So by choosing compassion, it just leads me to have lower blood pressure. It leads me to feel better about every interaction. And then it helps me to just kind of be my best self and reach a resolution with whatever challenge that I'm facing with others. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, that is like what an incredible approach to your day and interacting with other people. Even if
Mhm.
you're an introvert, you're an extrovert. And Kara, I like what you said. You really shared some words that truly resonated with me. The first one is choice. So compassion, I believe, is a choice. You have to walk into the day. You have to choose. I will have compassion today. And when that other individual, that other person comes to you with their prickliness or poor driving skills or whatever it may be, the second thing you said, assume good intentions. Right or wrong, go in it with the choice of compassion and assume good intentions. What's behind the layer of prickliness? What's behind that layer of bad driving? Is there something in there that you just don't know? You just don't understand where this layer of prickliness or bad driving is coming from.
Mhm.
So if you choose that compassion and walk into it, assuming there's something good underneath all the prickly, then you're going to have a better encounter. You're going to have a better day and not let that prickliness or bad driving make you have a bad attitude about something. And I truly, everything you said, Kara, just totally resonates with me. I'm absorbing it all, and I'm loving this conversation.
Good, good. I'm so happy about that. And it can be temporarily satisfying to instead um, make up a story that's filled with evil. You can be like, oh, that can feel really good for a moment, but ultimately taking the higher road there and choosing to fill in that story with good intentions, for me, it just leads to a lot more inner peace.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a story or analogy of the garbage truck, and we could go through that later. But I think it's a great analogy. People that are upset and angry will throw their garbage out, but
Oh,
it's your choice to collect the garbage and hang on to it or not, or just leave it there where they
Oh, I
dropped
love
it.
that. I
So
love that. And isn't that perfect for folks in rental housing? Because what are we known for? We can't walk past that garbage. We have to pick it up.
yeah, yeah. And what we're doing when we do that is we're making a better environment for
Hmm.
ourselves and the customers. But if a resident comes in and throws garbage at you in regards to bad attitude, angry, or whatever, it's your choice to pick up that garbage and turn it into your own garbage or just leave the garbage where they left it. So
Hmm.
I love what you're
Absolutely.
saying. And Karen, it's just such a great point that you have. And I love that inspires you and that you shared with us. The third thing that you shared that inspires you, this is another fun one. I love your use of words. You talk about work life smoothie. Now we hear work life balance all the time.
Yeah.
That's incredibly ubiquitous. But here you come at us with work life smoothie. You got to tell us more. I am truly intrigued what this means.
Good, good. All right. So I did not make this one up. Let me just say I'm not going to copyright or trademark this one. I definitely was inspired by somebody else's piece that I read a bunch of years ago. But yeah, work-life smoothie. So let me just say, I am a work in progress, Gary, when it comes to work-life balance. It's something that I've been wrestling with for my entire career, and I continue to work towards. I absolutely am passionate about work, and that means that I sometimes devote many, many hours around the clock, around the week. I do a lot of travel for work, and so it can consume my whole identity. But as you've heard already in this conversation, there are other parts to me. I have a family, for example. They need some of my time. So trying to figure out that work-life balance has been a lifelong challenge for me. And when my kids were young, especially, that whole concept of work-life balance, I have found to be very punishing, because it suggests to me that like work belongs over here in this bucket and life is over here in this other bucket. And my own personal experience was that, work never stays in the bucket. It's spilling over all the time, and life is constantly spilling out of that bucket. And so ultimately, that would leave me feeling like a failure because
Ooh.
I was unable to contain, work where it belonged or life where it belonged. And so that balance is something that I just have really never felt that I have been successful at achieving. So anyway, I came across this terminology of the work-life smoothie. And for me, it calls to mind a blender and all the ingredients are going in together. And that really resonates for me because guess what? Work is my life. It's not separate from my life. It's a part of my life. And my personal aspects of my life, my relationships, my family, that's equally important to me. And so it makes sense to me that instead of trying to compartmentalize and put things in their own buckets, we're just bringing it all together into one blender and mixing it up. And so I really love that analogy for me. It makes sense to me. And it also, I think, has been helpful to others to just think about instead of trying to and striving for separation, let's instead look to creating something healthy. Let's take all of the parts of ourselves, put them together, and try to come up with something healthy that serves your life, that serves your work, and allows you to be your best self for all of the different people that you need to show up for.
Oh my gosh, Kara, that is absolutely brilliant. I love how you talk about, the compartmentalizing and then things spilling over. Then you feel like you've missed opportunities or you're not containing what you're supposed to contain. But here you are talking about smoothing them together, blending them up, because
Mhm.
a lot of times the lessons you learn from work you can apply to home and
Oh,
personal
yeah.
life and vice versa. You're constantly engaging and supporting both aspects of your life. And when they're blended well together, I love how you said it, it's a healthy life. And
Mhm.
Kara, that is a great perspective, a wonderful approach to really think, hey, look, work is supporting my life and life is supporting my work. Let's blend it together so we can get the best
Mhm.
of both worlds. Kara, you such an open such you've opened my mind, and you've just really challenged kind of some perspectives, and you brought some new terminology that I have not heard of before. And I'm so thankful that I had a chance to connect with you and learn from you. This is great stuff. Now we're right at the end of our conversation, but before we wrap up, I want to give you a chance to share a closing thought with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that opportunity. Yes, I brought one that I am delighted to share with you. And this speaks to one of my inspiration points, which is compassion. Now, I've got to share with you too, as a little bit of context. One of the folks that I really admire is Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Mhm.
For those of you who don't know, he is the creative force behind the Broadway musical Hamilton, among other works. So he is my husband in my head. Yeah, I've got this crush on Lin-Manuel Miranda for all of the good that he puts out into the world. So anyway, way back when, he used to be very active on Twitter. He is no longer, but he used to do a series of good morning and good night posts on Twitter, and it was a joy to behold. But I have captured one of his old tweets. It was a good morning tweet. And I've got it right here on my computer, and it inspires me every day when I start up my day. So I want to share it with you here this morning. Here is the message. Good morning. Eyes up, hearts up, minds sharp, compassion on full blast. Okay, let's go. Isn't that an amazing way to start your day?
I love that part. Say the compassion part one more time.
Yeah, compassion on full blast. Okay, let's go.
I love that.
Yeah,
Kara,
that's how you're ready to face the world.
compassion on full blast, eyes up. Let's go. Let's face it.
Mm.
Karen, it has been a joy to connect with you. The only thing I regret is that we have not connected sooner because you are an incredible thought leader and I love what you've shared. Guys, make sure you connect with Kara Rice on LinkedIn. I promise you money back guarantee. She has got some great content. She's giving, she's sharing and supporting other people along the way. So Make sure you keep also an eye open for preventative management. I'm believing that there's some incredible opportunities with that. And you heard it here first. Kara Rice has coined that phrase. So Kara, thank you again for being a part of the Super Fantastic Exchange. I know people are going to get so much. Make sure you rewind some of this, listen to again. Kara's got great nuggets, and it has absolutely been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Keep inspiring other people, create your super fantastic, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gary.